right in. Start with the minutes from the December 7th meeting. You all here? Any questions on the way those were transcribed?
I move to approve.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome all our visitors. Good morning. Okay. Actually, the first item under new business is actually old business. So we will award the 2019 to 2023 recycle contract as old business. Those bids were opened at the last meeting and they were taken under advisement, so ask the street superintendent to come up and discuss that.
At the last Board of Works meeting, bids were open for recycling program. It's for a 5-year contract. Borden was the sole bidder. That came in for the first year at $3.42 per month per unit for pickup. It'd be $10,944 a month. And additionally, as before, they'd included a community shred day for the residents of Warsaw. And so that's the price. As you can see over the 5-year period, the price increases every year for services. So we're here to see if you'd like to accept that bid.
So you're proposing that we do accept the bid? Okay, questions?
No. I'll move to approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right. The next item is the WCDC 2019 facade grant agreement, in the amount of $25,000. This was approved by the council, and it's just here for the contractual approval that I don't believe is any different than the last one. And this does include building facades, storefronts, as well as alleyways. And again, that was, I think, changed last year, so this is, again, pretty much the same as we've done. It's up to $5,000, matching funds available. So, questions?
I move to approve.
Second?
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Item number 3 is internal control documentation project for the wastewater collection that's operated by the clerk treasurer's office. Lynn, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. We've already started, we've had a couple sessions for them to start writing those controls, so we'll have something on paper, and it's sort of coming at a good time, because we do have the State Board of Accounts here. They came Monday to start an audit, and they're really asking a lot about our internal controls, so having this manual will work out well.
I think, as you and I discussed with all the changes in the wastewater billing, and we had a vendor error, and we've had other issues, and just having those internal controls makes perfect sense. So I certainly applaud you and your office for putting this together. And it looks like we're on our way with it. We just need your approval, gentlemen.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. Jennifer is out today. There's one travel request, Chief Police, IACP Midwinter Conference in Indy. Chief, anything to discuss about that request?
I have nothing to discuss, but no, I just requested you authorize the travel. It's a 2-day course in Indianapolis in January. I've attended multiple occasions. It's also the trade show,
All right,
latest technology.
all right. Questions?
No, I move to accept.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Next item of business is contract with Design Collaborative. This will be planning, architectural engineering for the Center Lake Pavilion. I want to remind everybody, this is the only the established Center Lake Pavilion. There's no other, we're not looking at, there was a new pavilion adjacent to that had been proposed. The Parks Department looked at a lot of the projects that were originally studied by Design Collaborative, and that particular project, the open air pavilion, was set down lower towards the bottom. So this pavilion, this is the established current Center Lake Pavilion. The high priority here is that the Park Department offices we're looking at moving those offices into the pavilion and doing some really neat things to improve the experience in that pavilion. So, but I just want to make sure everybody understands we're talking about the established Center Lake Pavilion only in this request. Larry?
And I think you took the words right out of my mouth. It's this schematic planning for the remodel of the pavilion and park offices is what it is. This was ran through the park board. The park board approved of that. It was their high priority on the master plan. So we would like to move forward with this schematic design.
Yeah, and I'm very supportive of this because, you know, we vetted that. We had the public process initially to look at all the different options down at Central Park. Then it went through the park board. They looked at all the projects that were identified and in the feasibility study, and they prioritized them, and this one was at the top. And I think that we vetted this well, and now it's time to get some numbers and take a look at actually doing something with it. So.
A lot of thoughts and analysis, so I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Larry, thank you for your diligence in this. I know with the Buffalo Street project and all the options, we do know NIPSCO's going to start next month to redo their station there, their plant. And, you know, that's, again, potentially going to open up some things. We've already talked about all the changes that potentially can occur, and I think trying to leverage those changes and make that park even better is really at the head of all this decision-making that we've asked the park board and the public to vet. And I know there's been some moving parts, and you and your department and the park board have done a great job, I think, getting us to the point where I think we all feel good about this next step.
All right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jeremy, looks like you're just presenting a pre-qualification agreement or modification from the NDOT that basically certifies that American Structure Point is one of their certified or pre-qualified type of engineering firms.
You should have, is the contract not in there?
Should be. I have it.
Yeah. So what we're doing, and the pre-qual is part of the contract, so they are a pre-qualified engineer to do NDOT design work. But what you're really approving more or less is the contract, which is the first step in that 80-20 match program we got with Anchorage for the Anchorage Road project. So this is the first step in the Anchorage Road project, is that preliminary engineering contract for $384,000 with Structure Point. This is an 80-20 match program, much like what we did with Market Street and Husky Trail. Although, unlike Husky Trail and Market Street, where the engineering was pre-approved by NDOT and funds set aside in the most recent distribution of money, the way they're setting it up now is that you have to sign the contract and then submit it to NDOT to be approved for the 80-20 match. But I do anticipate they will approve the 80-20 match for the engineering as well.
I don't have the contract. Joe?
But the $64,000 amount is just.
It's just the PO from this year's money, and then next year we'll PO the rest for engineering.
Jeremy, we didn't have the contract in here. All we had was that pre-qualification
Yeah.
documents.
I don't know why they wouldn't have
You
gotten
might
it.
give us a few minutes to look through this. Is there time sensitivity to this?
It's up to you. I mean, the end goal was to get it signed this year, partly because we were POing some money from this year, and then the other part was we're on a deadline with NDOT to get this done in X amount of time to have the project ready to be construction for as early as July 2021, as late as June 2022 is what the construction timeframe is.
So, I mean, this is the information that we all vetted through the process.
Yeah, this is just the boilerplate contract from NDOT. There's nothing, this is the NDOT contract that has to be signed and submitted to them with the
And
consultant
Structure Point was the engineering firm that was selected through
through the NDOT selection
through the
process.
selection
Yeah, so
process.
we requested engineering. It's not a bid, it's a performance. So you request and they provide you documents on how they're going to do the project, and then you rank them, and then you submit that to NDOT for their approval. Once NDOT approves that, then we can enter into a contract. We've been negotiating with them for the last 2 months on this contract. So that's what you have before you now.
So
is
that
the-
price is the result of your negotiation
Yes.
with Structure Point. So that's probably the key number there.
Just under 400,000.
So again, just for everyone's edification, you know, we have gone through that, again, selection process, the NDOT selection process, and we're required to do for the NDOT type of road project, NDOT-funded road project. These are the NDOT documents.
Yeah, it's much like what you approved at the last Board of Works for the Lincoln Street project. The same contract, the only different vendor or different consultant and a different fee based on this project is obviously going to be more around $3 million, whereas the sidewalk project was around $1.2 million.
And it's already been approved, right?
Well, this is an NDOT approved, I mean, you can't change the contract. It's NDOT's contract.
Right.
This is what you have to submit to them
Right.
after you negotiate with the consultant. So the contract itself is an NDOT boilerplate contract. You can't change it unless you want to go argue with the state attorney general's office on the contract itself. So the contract's not more or less what you're looking at. What you're looking at is the receivables for that contract, which is the preliminary engineering that they're going to be doing for the Anchorage Road project, which includes all the engineering. Much like the other projects we talked about, there's other contracts to come. You have the right-of-way contract, you have the right-of-way acquisition contract, you have the construction inspection, or what NDOT refers to as this construction engineering. This is just the first step in this process.
And as you suggest in here, this will be an 80-20 match.
I believe that they will match at 80-20. Unlike previous years where NDOT sets aside the engineering money for each project when it's awarded, they're not doing that anymore. What they are doing is you approve the contract, then you submit it to them, and then they would approve it based on. And what was happening, wrong, right, or indifferent, is people were coming in and saying, I need $500,000 for engineering. So NDOT would set aside $500,000, and then the contract would be for, let's say, $350,000. And then they would take that money and move it to a different category because they had extra money in there. Well, NDOT didn't want to do that anymore. So now their thought is, you get us the contract, then we'll approve the money. That way there's no floating money that you can move from one contract to the next. It's basically just purely based on what you negotiate. And the pre-qualification rates, the reason for the pre-qualification rates, that sets, NDOT presets their rate of return. So they can't exceed those pre-qual rates within their price points. It's a very cumbersome process,
Yeah.
to say the least.
All right. So again, and the amount on this contract, you negotiated with the understanding of the amount of work that's going to be done in the preliminary engineering.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to approve. Second.
Further discussion? I will just say I appreciate the explanation. I know that the NDOT process changes, and this is probably a good example of it. And I'm comfortable with your explanation as I am with the cost for that contract. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
So that contract will be signed, we'll submit it to NDOT, they will officially approve the contract, and then we'll issue a notice to proceed to Structure Point, and they'll start the engineering for the Anchorage Road project.
So I just still need a clarification. The $64,000 is money you need to pay over from this year,
Yes,
but the total preliminary engineering is gonna be $384,000.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, pay app 31, Buffalo Street.
Yeah, so you have two things here. You have the Selge pay application that James has reviewed, and that's pay application 8 for $289,552.34. And this is for the Buffalo Street project. So that pay application's been received, reviewed by James, and I think there was a correction on it, which you can see. And then you have the request for payment through the redevelopment authority bond issue. So you have the pay application itself from Selge, and then you have the request for payment, which was granted to the Board of Works by the redevelopment authority to approve these pay applications that get submitted to the bond, because all these funds are coming out of that bond issue that was done in 2015.
Question?
Move to accept.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you, Jeremy. Scott, Chief. Fuel pricing for 2020.
Yes, the police department, on behalf of the city of Warsaw, would like to pursue sealed bids, seeking your permission to pursue such, to enter into a contract for fuel for 2020, be the calendar year. Like to, because we believe the overall agreement will be over 150,000, we'll need to advertise on 2 occasions, being on January 4th and January 11th, with the bids to be received most likely the morning of, but prior to that 10:30 a.m. Board of Works meeting on the 18th of January. Then we'd ask the board, we'd ask for that to be scheduled to the first part of the meeting so that James Emmons and I can review the sealed quotes or sealed bids and report back to you for your decision at the end of the meeting.
Okay. I do have a question, Mr. Emmons. Come on, please. I know there's been some discussion, and in the past, we've utilized the local preference. How would that work, if at all, in this situation?
The documents are being prepared with a local preference.
They are?
It is.
Okay, that's my question.
And that would be anybody that was in Kosciuszko County or the adjoining counties could request that consideration. Now, there are specifications of where the distribution point of the fuel is. I think we require at least 2 locations within the corporate boundary of the city. But someone that owns a business that has distribution facilities here in the city would be eligible to ask for that, even if they were located in a different county. Now, there are criterion involved with that local preference relevant to employees, the amount of work they do in those counties, so there is some proof that they qualify as that, but it is being incorporated in this.
So there's statutory provisions that define what a local business is in a case like this?
Correct.
Okay, and that's all included in this bid?
Correct.
Okay,
It is.
perfect. All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right, any further questions of Scott?
No, I'll move to approve the request to pursue fuel pricing.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
And, Your Mayor, if I could,
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to comment to Mike. It's been an honor to serve and work with you over the last decade. Appreciate the time we've had together. So.
Thank you very much.
That's fine. All right, Mr. Beeler.
Before you have a contract with USI Consultants for engineering design services for the reconstruction of Lincoln Drive and Johnson Street in Hodges Edition. It is a price of $77,000. That will do all the engineering for that. And so we'd like to request your approval so we can get that project started. Very excited to be able to dive into a neighborhood and rebuild it, so.
Question?
Move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, Brian, you've got a few items here.
The rest of the meeting.
We'll start with the
NB grants.
NV
NV
grant
grants.
service, which is, well, I'll let you explain it.
We're currently using them for the SRF portion for our sewer replacement and rehab work. Part of the SRF loan agreement is you have to certify payrolls and make sure they're in line with the common wage and everything. Well, this NV Grant Services does all that for us, provides us with the documentations for any SRF audits, and just keeps us in line with the requirements of the SRF loan. So I'm asking to extend that service to the plant expansion project as well.
And you've obviously not had any problems, been happy.
Oh, no, it's been very helpful. There's quite a bit of paperwork involved, and she seems to love to do it. It seems to be her life mission, so.
It's good somebody likes to do that, right?
That's right.
All right, any questions?
No, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, you've got a pay app number 9 through the SRF district disbursement, which is pay app 24, in the amount of $39,320.
Yeah, this is for Selge and the work they have done on the sewer replacement. This is pay app 9. The next one's pay app 10, which is actually the final payment. They have completed that project and they are finished, so that's a good thing.
All right, questions?
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Brian, are these are the actual replacements? I
Yes.
noticed they're still around. Can you give us just a little update on their timing?
And may still see Selge in the spring once the asphalt plants reopen, because there's still some spot repairs to do, but that's through the lining side of all these projects. The replacement projects are complete. The large diameter contract is nearly complete. They will probably finish. They're off until that second full week of January, and then they'll be back to complete the large diameter. They're hoping to have that done before Christmas. The small diameter, they're going to be probably wrapping up with what they can do through the winter until Selge can get in and do the spot repairs, and then they'll be back to line those spots. And the second small diameter package, they're not starting lining until, I believe it was the end of February or middle of February for they're even gonna start, but they have that's more in the outer edges of Warsaw, and they didn't have quite the footage yet. It'll probably take them a month or so, and then they'll be finished. And then we'll be ramping up the plant, so.
Yay.
Moving on that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay. Next one, SRF pay 25, it's another sewage replacement, pay app number 10.
Yeah, this is the final payment and includes the retainage for Selge. They've completed everything. Our punch list is complete. They are finished. So we are recommending closing that out and giving them their retainage.
I move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Now to the inliner, lane inliner.
This is the small diameter. Like I said, they've been kind of just updated you on that, but they're moving right along. And this is just payment for the work they've completed. It's been checked and verified by both Westler and us. And
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 14 is essentially the same thing, only this is the large diameter.
Correct.
Gap number 5, Bay 27.
And we'll be closing this one out before too long.
I'll move to approve that bid.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. And the next one, the big one here.
Yeah, this is a notice of award to Kekosing. We had bid openings and they were low bid, and so this is just giving them the notice of award so they can start getting equipment lined up and get started. Here at the beginning of January, we'll probably issue a notice to proceed, but it probably won't be dated until later in February for an actual start date. The contractor has requested that, which they have a right to do, and we can grant that. That way they don't lose a couple months through the winter potentially with weather. And so they'll start mid-February, beginning of March on the actual project. That's when their time will start for the project.
Okay. Just something I noticed here, it says wastewater treatment plant expansion 2017. I assume that's when they started this project.
Right, that's when Westler started.
What's the engineering portion of the study?
Right.
I move to accept.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We've got a maintenance agreement on the new lift station at Buffalo Street.
Yeah, this is with a company called Xylem. We have a similar agreement with McAllister Cat for all our generators. At this particular lift station, we went with a little different system. This is not only a backup standby generator, this is a complete standby pumping system. So it has an engine and actually will do the pumping too. So if we were to lose that entire lift station with the pumps, we still have a backup. It's almost like having a second lift station set on standby if something happens. So we thought we'd try a system like this on this lift station and see how it worked. This is just a 5-year maintenance agreement on that pumping system.
So does the location of it maybe beg that you do something a little bit more comprehensive in the way of a backup, or is this something?
Not necessarily price-wise. It was pretty similar to just a backup power.
Gotcha.
So there's, even if a lightning were to hit that and take out all the pumps and the power station, this kicks in and has the pumping, and everything just keeps going. So
So is it a mobile unit or is it set down?
it's set down there.
I see.
It's a permanent unit.
Seems pretty inexpensive. Am I missing something?
No, I mean, basically what they do is come in and change oil and check everything to make sure it's ready to go.
But their backup unit that they own, that self-contained backup pump, and
We own it. It's ours. They're just maintaining it.
I see.
They'll make sure everything's how it should be. And
Gotcha.
same thing we do with our generators. We have CAT come in twice a year and run through all the components of it and check the batteries and change oil and check the fuel.
So at other lift stations, we don't necessarily have the same, do we have backup pumps at every lift
Nope.
station?
Most lift stations have 2 or 3 pumps in them, but most of them just have a standby generator. So if we lose power, the generator would provide power to our existing pumps.
Well, I think that circles back, I hate to
Oh, no,
that circles back to my original question, that you put a complete backup unit down there.
complete backup unit,
And
correct.
again, it didn't have anything to do with the location of her, that maybe the water table was high or anything like that?
Not
Not work for
necessarily.
company?
This is a technology we discovered a couple of years ago and thought this would be a real good location to see how it worked for us.
Okay,
And the pricing was very similar to just a standard generator, and this is a complete system, so.
questions?
No, move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Lynn, any special claims?
No, all, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Thank you. Then we'll go to the regular docket.
Just one question on the claims docket. We don't, I always forget to ask this, we don't give refund checks from the, for overpayments unless they request it, right? We just give them a credit? Is that the way it works, Lynn, do you know?
On, what are you referring
If
to?
someone overpays, I saw several people receive checks for overpayment.
Vendors.
For-
Yeah, people, users of, they're paying their wastewater bill.
Oh, wastewater bill.
Because I prepay mine and I.
It
just
depends
give
on
them
the
a credit.
circumstances. If it's someone that's selling a house or something, then yeah, we can't give it a credit to the new people. So I don't know the circumstances
Okay,
on that
alright.
for
I
sure,
was
but
just
yes,
curious.
but sometimes we do just give them credit.
That would be an example.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the way it works for me. I like to prepay it, but it's for especially a small charge, so. Okay, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, here's, I see.
Yeah.
Refund overpayment too, those lines that you
Yeah.
were saying?
Yeah.
I was just curious how they
Yeah.
did that. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No. Mm-mm.
I'll move we approve the claims docket.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right. Any other items to come before the board?
Yep.
Any final
Okay,
comments?
thanks for letting me work with you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been enjoyable.
Thank you, Michael.
Is this your final meeting of the year?
This is it.
This is
I think
it.
we all ought to give them the.
From here I go to Titus.
Thank you for your service.
All right, well, maybe we just won't close the meeting, we'll make you stick it out for another hour or two.
Sine die.
It's ordered lunch.
All right, well, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Michael. All right, got some things to sign, gentlemen.
Yes, you do.